Hello and welcome to Muppetsational, the Muppet Show podcast, hosted by three huge Muppet fans. Join us each week as we dive into an episode of Jim Henson's classic variety show, now finally available on Disney+. This week, it's Season 1, Episode 11, starring the indefatigable Lena Horne. It's time to get things started on the chronological, explorational, conversational Muppetsational!
Yay!
Yay! Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Muppetsational. I'm Lewis.
I'm Jade.
And I'm Emma.
And we are here to discuss another episode. And I don't want to, lean the vote already. A very good episode of The Muppet Show.
Yeah, it's really...
What a joy.
a very strong episode, I think. I'm looking forward to chatting about it, definitely.
So say we all. Jade, why don't you kick us off with a little production information?
I shall indeed. So this, as I mentioned with our last episode, this episode was actually broadcast the week before the Harvey Korman episode. So it was broadcast on the 31st of October, 1976. Halloween! Wonderful. The production code lists it as the 11th episode made, and therefore Disney Plus have included it as episode 11. As with all of the other episodes after the two pilot runs, it was written by Jack Burns, Mark London, Jim Henson and Jerry Jewell, and directed by Peter Harris.
Quick question. All right, everybody. It's October 31st, 1976. Who are each of you dressing up for Halloween from 1976 relevant pop culture?
I mean, I feel like if all of us don't answer with some form of Star Wars things, we're probably lying to ourselves, aren't we?
That's the following year. That's 1977, isn't it?
Oh, no, sorry, I'm thinking of Jaws. Jaws was 75.
So you're going as Jaws?
No, sorry, probably not. I hate Jaws.
Jaws is terrifying. I watched that movie, I think, once, and I was scared to get in the shower.
God, Lewis, I wasn't that scared of it. I just, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it that much.
It's the water, okay?
Can I just say I'd go as someone from ABBA? Does that count?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you could do ABBA, I think.
Are you going to be
works.
Agneta, or what's the other one?
No,
called?
I'm going to be Agneta. I'm not, but no. The other one is called Frida, Jade.
Frida.
For God's sake.
Sorry, ABBA fans. Sorry, Frida's not as fun to say as Agneta. Come on, give me
exactly.
Well, her full name is technically Anna Fried. But anyway, so Emma, you're going as a member of ABBA.
I am, yes.
Yeah, fabulous. Jade, what are you going as?
I don't know, mid-70s.
Unfortunately, we're a few years too early for any of us to go as Charlie's Angels, because I'd go as Jacqueline Smith. Before she had her line at Kmart.
Has made her a millionaire.
A Star is Born, the Streisand version, is 76, but it didn't come out till the December, so you're too early for that as well.
You could just go as the Judy one.
just take it all the way back. I mean, to be honest, if Muppets had been on for the best part of a month or whatever by then, maybe I would have been inspired, although there's not that many female characters that have really come out of, onto their own at this point yet, are there? Maybe I'd have just gone as Kermit.
Oh my God, I'd love to see you as Kermit.
What about you, Lewis, then? Who are you saying?
I'd go as Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith in Doctor Who. That's who I would go at. I'd put on a brunette wig and some cute yellow Mac and some a little mini skirt, and maybe convince another friend of mine to dress up as a Dalek. That's what I would do. Because anything else that I can think of that's campy in 1970s doesn't exist yet. So I can't be Jacqueline Smith in Charlie's Angels. I can't be Princess Leia.
Grease doesn't come out till 78, so we can't even be Pink Ladies.
So I can't even...
You can't be Jan.
I would never be Jan. I would be Rizzo or a Frenchie. Thank you, Emma. Although I do have Marty aspects to me, I guess.
Do you, Lewis?
All right.
I'm joking, only teasing.
After Vince Fontaine tried to slip an aspirin into my Coke at the dance. Come on, lady with a baby.
I do have a Frenchy wig somewhere. I don't know where that's got to.
Quelle surprise. There's a slightly awkward story between Emma and I for Grease, where when we were at secondary school,
Oh God, yes.
they put on a school production of Grease. Emma auditioned for, which part was it, Emma?
I can't remember.
It's one of the pink ladies. She unfortunately didn't get it. However,
Surprise, surprise.
there was a hierarchy. Damn it, Emma! You were. It wasn't fair. But one of the other actors had to drop out, and my drama teacher, despite the fact that I was in year 9, bumped me up to be one of the leads. But we then realised, had Emma have gotten the part, we would have had to play romantic partners.
So Emma, it was actually a blessing in disguise. So there wasn't like a Monica and Ross situation going on. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
God always has a plan. Anyway, to get back to the point, Emma, why don't you give us some information about this week's guest host?
Yeah, so Lena Horne is a singer, dancer, actress. She's been on film, TV, Broadway, touring. She's won Grammys. Again, she was another studio starlet, and she had a 7-year movie deal with MGM. And also, she played Glinda in the film The Wiz.
She's iconic.
Absolutely.
Although, unfortunately, MGM did treat her quite terribly from what I've sort of read up on her. So she was signed to a 7-year deal and she was cast in films, but often the parts that she was given in these films were usually in these kind of like ensemble musicals they would do, where they would have a big roster of stars like Judy Garland, Gene Kelly, whoever else you can think of. But they'd all be doing just individual, unrelated numbers. It'd be kind of more like a Follies. It'd be like movies like Everybody Sings or Till the Clouds Roll By. And they would often cut Lena's numbers for a number of states that basically did not want to see an African-American woman on screen. Mm-hmm. It was just this kind of riled up groundswell of racial tension and, well, just racism. And so rather than trying to combat that, the studio would just only use her in a part that they knew they could cut her out and still make a profit from the movie, which is quite appalling, to be honest. And it left... Lena has kind of quite often talked about her displeasure at that sort of period of her life.
Well, I was just going to say, she was in a lot of the... things like Stormy Weather and Cabin in the Sky, famous black musicals.
Yes.
With predominantly black casts. So I think I'm not disputing. I can imagine that what's been made public of her treatment of MGM is probably a very sanitized version of what she actually experienced working for the studio. But, she is completely iconic and a very, very important figure in Hollywood movie history as well. She was absolutely part of a very small group. Sadly, it's taken a very long time for black stars to get to the level that they arguably still are not on the same... We don't have the same plethora of black stars as we do white stars.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she is completely iconic, and she's...
a trailblazer. Yeah,
she's amazing. I don't know what you two both thought, but I think maybe she's got the best voice that we've heard so far on The Muppet Show. Yeah.
Do you want to... I agree. Like, maybe it's the combination... I don't know if it's the combination of her song choices and her voice that really just spoke to her strengths. Maybe because she was, after being a film star, did a lot of... Well, before she became a film star, she was a nightclub singer. And then she went back to that kind of like touring sort of singer life. So maybe she just knew precisely what songs she wanted to bring, rather than, maybe with Connie Stevens, they were like, hey, do you want to sing Teenager in Love? And she was like, yeah.
Sure.
Gee whiz. Yeah, exactly.
I've got my poodle skirt.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll just get out my poodle skirt now.
It's in the trunk.
Funny you should ask.
What, this old thing?
Just brushing the cobwebs off it like that. It's still good.
I think it's quite interesting the way that they actually use the Muppet performers' voices alongside her. Some of the sort of chorus work seemed so traditional, very sort of old school musical, very classical Hollywood musical style. But then I thought it was also really interesting that she actually got to duet with Gonzo, Kermit and Fozzie. Well, I suppose the last one wasn't a duet, it was a What's that word, Lewis? I'm guessing it's not a triet.
Well, it's just a trio, is it? I don't
A
know.
trio. There we go. I was
even know.
making it too complicated. Anyway, duet and a trio. There we go. You know, she got to sing in that way with the Muppets, which, again, have we seen that so far? Because I don't really think we have.
No, not as yet. I don't think we have, to be fair.
So I think that's sort of amazing too, because not only did she, obviously she was showing off her pipes, but she was working with the Muppeteers in a different way than we've kind of seen so far, instead of them just backing a singer up. So, yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, I think it's time for us to dive into the episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so then we go into the Rag Mops song, which was quite random but quite fun, but also was a bit like, wait a minute, that really is just some sticks with some like crazy material stuck on the
How
back
dare
of them,
you?
They were little cheerleader pom-poms.
Little cheerleader pom-poms. I think the guy in the front was an actual puppet, but then everyone was just a stick with a nose or some eyes.
I think there was a couple other mouths maybe further back, but yeah, I think you're right, Emma. The majority of them were sort of mop extras.
I know, and I like the fact that they said, oh, it's George's favourite act.
Yeah.
Like George the Janitors, and it's a bunch of singing
He
mops.
discovered them. That's what
He
they said. They said
discovered
George
them.
discovered them, which I just have visions of George opening a closet somewhere in the back of the Benny Vandergrass Theatre and just finding this ragtag group of mops that are just constantly singing and dancing. And he's like, hey, these guys are great. This is why I'm in show business. Like, you know.
Yeah.
A star is broom.
Oh, no.
A star is broom. As soon as I heard the song, I didn't recognise it. I don't know if you two knew it, but I could just tell it must have been like a hit in the 50s. It just had that vibe of like The Twist or something, where you can just imagine that it was huge for like one hot summer and everyone was dancing to it and going crazy, and then
It was the Get
it
Lucky
just
of
died.
1952.
Exactly.
There was a run on mops that year.
It's when you find out it was sponsored by like Unilever or something. It was like part of a marketing campaign to get everyone to buy a new mop.
Yeah, like Monesto or something, or whatever they were called. Chemicals and mops. And rides at Disneyland.
What more can you want? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really exciting way to start the episode. Like, it was completely mental, but it was really, really good fun. And I thought considering that actually it was just essentially mops on sticks in the background, I thought it was really clever how they managed to infuse all of it with so much energy. And character's not the right word, but there was like a vibrancy to it.
Yes.
It did kind of pop and come alive, you know, for something that's really quite simple. Very, very effective, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. The three words I wrote down were chaotic, fun, and simple.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it simultaneously felt very like Shaggy and 1970s, but then using a song that's probably from the 50s-ish, we're guessing. I know what you mean. I sort of recognised it, but not quite. But then it also harkens back to that kind of classic MGM musical thing where inanimate objects become dance partners. Do you know what I mean? It's like Fred Astaire dancing with a broom or a lamp or a hat stand. And that kind of magic that comes with basically just bopping around a long stick with some sort of bit on the top that really does kind of, it's charming. But it's got this Muppet edge where they're a bit more like loosey-goosey and Shaggy. I didn't think it was the most like immaculately puppeteered by the very nature of their pom-pom hair. It did sometimes get a bit messy and a bit lost, but I can't say I didn't laugh every time you got like 4 mops in the far background just bop their way along the back of the screen, just like a little crowd going by. You can't help but love it. However, compared to the rest of the episode, I've got to say, it then, for me, became not a weak link, but actually, compared to what we then see coming later, that could go in an episode that needs it. Do you know what I mean? Because this episode has so much going for it that actually, chuck this one in, what was the name of the guy we watched last week? Harvey Korman. Give that to Harvey Korman. They need it.
I know. I sort of worked out because every time we watch one of them, I write down like all the sketches and songs. And on the episodes where they're quite terrible, there is literally like there's more, because obviously it's kind of like a filler, loads of random throwaway sketches, whereas with this one there's like a shorter amount of sketches and songs, but they're really high quality, and like as you said, Lou, it is a really good episode. And even the runner, which, you know, it's been up and down like a roller coaster, you have to say, these past few episodes, it was amazing. Like the whole setup of it with Kermit and then Piggy thinking that Kermit's saying to her that he didn't want her to overshadow Lena, so she's not going to sing, and she literally like buys it, and it's so funny. And yeah,
this is the Piggy I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a joy to see her suddenly fully formed and fabulous and self-involved, but also not too like lusty after Kermit, where she's like desperate and at the same time incredibly violent and angry, like, and jealous. It was great. It was so good.
It was really lovely, and I'm very happy to talk about it in far more detail than just that. But my one thing that sort of just raised an eyebrow, I guess, at the very start, was she came backstage to Kermit and sort of said, "Oh, I'm not doing my song this week." And there seemed to be the assumption there that she'd done her doing a song was the same as like Fozzie doing his stand-up routine, when obviously we've never seen Piggy do a song yet on the show. And that just made me pause a second, because I was just like, oh, I'm guessing that means hopefully very soon we are going to see Piggy do a number in the traditional Miss Piggy sense of the term. But we haven't seen that yet. And I thought it was a little bit interesting that there was this runner that she's not doing a song when we haven't seen her do a song yet. Because it's like, well, yeah, you're not doing a song, love. Like, you've never done a song. Like, that's not, you know, half the time you're Richard Hunt and we don't even know who you are. So, you know, but I loved the characterization, and I really liked how it grew through the episode, and especially how it brought in Scooter at the end. Like the fact that it took another Muppet for Piggy to realise that she'd put words into Kermit's mouth that he'd never ever said. It was very, very good fun.
For somebody who has been too caught up in Muppet continuity sometimes, for example, who is this Muppet clone Juliet Prowse, and where will she live now? The fact that Piggy asked the question, will I do my song this week, did not even cross my mind as a problem. Didn't think about it for a second. I just sort of thought, all right.
Well, I guess from the point of view of now, we know that Piggy's going to be doing songs at some point, don't we? So it's not, for us now, it's not necessarily out of context for her to be asking that. And it's a very traditional Muppet setup that Piggy is vying for screen time with the host or with another female star. So that does all feel totally in keeping. But yeah, I suppose because we're doing the podcast and everything, I was just sort of tuned into like, hang on a second, we haven't seen Piggy do a song yet. Why is she so upset that she's not got to do one? You've never got to do one.
Did anybody else get totally thrown by seeing that dog randomly come down the steps backstage?
I did. I mean, I thought we were going into the dressing room with Muppy, but I think it was actually because you saw that after the first song.
No. Before Lena's song, that dog comes down the stairs and walks out of shot.
Oh, so then it comes back up the stairs?
Yeah, but then it runs onto the set for Lena's song. But before you get to that song, I was like, who the hell was that dog? I was like, it was actually like this bizarre detail. I thought I was watching Twin Peaks or something. I was like, who's that? What's happening?
I love the implication that Muppy is coming from the guests' dressing room, and we see Muppy going down and up, which therefore suggests that Muppy is in fact the real star of this show. Like,
maybe he's the reason it's called the Muppet Show.
Emma, what were you going to say?
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to say he is like heavily used throughout this episode. And I mean, I don't know who owns the dog, but I mean, are they getting money for his screen time? Like,
I don't know, not in the
Probably
70s,
not.
to be honest.
Probably not. He's probably like the studio dog, and then like, let's use him in a number.
I did want to ask on Muppy though, our recurring segment of Did Peter Notice? Did Peter notice the Muppy going from real to Muppet to real again?
Unfortunately, Peter did not watch this week's episode with
Oh,
me
Lewis!
because he was at work. He was doing his job, and I was sitting at home watching The Muppet Show because neither of my jobs still exist yet. So that was my day. I was like, I'm doing important work with my notepad and my pen watching a puppet television show.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you'll just have to play him that little snippet and report back to us of whether he pays any attention to it.
Oh, I'll make him watch every episode. He doesn't get a choice.
Peter, I'm so sorry. I know you are listening because I also know that Lewis makes you listen to every single episode.
He listens off his own.
No, he just knows that you're gonna be onto him if he doesn't listen. Do you know it's taken me till today to get Rich to listen, and he said he listened to about 10 minutes, and then he was like, "Oh, and then I finished what I was doing," and I was like, "Okay." And then this afternoon he wasn't doing anything, and I was like, "Oh, you could have listened." He was like, "Yeah, I could have." I was like, "Great, thanks." So supportive. So well done, Peter.
Peter listens off his own volition and posts about it online. And even Peter's mum has listened to it a couple of times. And she doesn't even watch The Muppet Show.
Oh.
Thanks, Peter's mum.
Thanks, Jay.
Well, shall we dive into the I Got a Name Lena Horne first number at the railroad with
Yes, let's.
with Muppy and many other Muppets that I could find no real relation between why they were all there.
I was just glad they weren't the Hick Muppets.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
good
mean?
point.
They would have...
Oh, yeah, that would have been awful.
The Hick Muppets were definitely somewhere along that railroad. God, doing an Emma with a wat. Somewhere along that railroad.
You sounded like me then.
Yeah, sorry. Can you tell it's nearly 9 o'clock in the evening and I'm like starting to wind down slightly?
Jade, put the wine away, please. We're trying to record.
If only, Lewis, if only. I can't even blame it on that.
Speaking of the railway, or the railroad.
Whichever.
What a beautiful set for that one number. It was gorgeous. It looked like something from an old, movie
It
musical.
was really pretty.
It was, and I don't know if it's just me, but I really felt like the way that Lena kind of played it, it felt very Hollywood musical. She never directly looked into the camera. She always had their far away look to the
middle distance.
Yes, the middle I literally wrote, I was like, I'm sure this is called something because she did it the whole number. She was so professional. She literally did middle distance all the way through. Jade,
it's what my friend Emily Miller always used to take the piss out of and call the stagecoach look.
Oh. Oh, I'm sure I've done it then.
Yeah, a group of 30 kids singing into the middle distance earnestly. She said, because she never went, but she said every time she looked at a brochure as a kid, she was like, where are they all looking?
It was though, wasn't it? I don't want to take away from it, but I just did think that the whole time.
She had a really piercing gaze. Her eyes were incredible, sometimes almost verging on alarming, but mostly amazing in that first number. Emma, did she remind you of Ann Miller?
Yes. Yeah, she did. Yeah. Especially because, do you remember, I think when she's in Easter Parade, and then when you see that documentary she does where she's like, I had a broken rib, but I kept going. And
yeah, it's her sort of wide open mouth and her sort of quite small eyes and the way the cheekbones sit on her. She just sort of had a slight, I don't know, I just got Ann Miller.
I found her middle distance, I found her a bit glassy-eyed. I was a little bit perturbed by it, to be honest.
I got it only in that number. I did sort of wonder, is that a little...
Yeah.
In the other ones it was fine, but yeah, in that one I did get a slight... I don't want to say barbiturate, but I mean,
yes.
Look, MGM was probably popping pills to everybody.
I literally wanted to be like, Lena, are you there? Lena, hello?
Like there's somebody slightly off camera, jangling some keys.
Like a little baby.
It's like one of those cat laser things. Just follow it.
But I'm so glad it wasn't just me though, because I was like, what? I'm sure this is something. She's not blinking. She's staring off to the distance.
It made me a little bit worried because although So I looked up the song because I didn't really recognise it, and she actually did a cover of it in 1975, so it was one of her songs. So I guess maybe this was just a very traditional way, potentially, for her to perform it in a very sort of serious and sincere manner. But it did the whiplash of going from the mops to the start of the Piggy Runner to this. I was a bit like, oh, like, what? Where is this episode going? But all of her other numbers, she seemed to be, and also her little skits and sketches and things, she seemed to be much more comfortable with.
Yes.
But there was something with this that it didn't all click for me. I thought her voice sounded amazing. I thought, like, as you said, Lewis, the staging and the set and everything were really lovely. But there was something with her Stagecoach eyes that made me just a bit like...
Should just put in a little disclaimer. Stagecoach were not giving us pharmaceuticals to give us that far away look. I mean, I don't remember, but honestly, those heady Saturday mornings, Lewis, like, who knows? It felt very 1970s. The moment that they had it was the mid shot of her like singing, and then the slow fade, and then the slow crossfade into a close up of her face from a side angle, and you see both at the same time. Felt so 1970s to me. Like, I kind of loved it.
Yeah,
I really liked her outfit though. Her like denim kind of like almost kimono-esque jacket.
Some stunning outfits on Lena Horne this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Every single scene almost. It was a different number. It was great.
She definitely brought, I'm guessing, her own very accomplished costume designer, because compared to some of the other outfits we've had recently, she knocked it out of the park.
I have to assume those are a number of her nightclub dresses. Yeah. It's like Marlene Dietrich. She used to keep all of her gowns.
Yeah, I mean, after we had the chicken suit with Harvey Korman, I can't imagine that they sprung for some nice clothes. So
I mean, season 1 Muppet Show was definitely a bring your own situation, wasn't it? There's no way that they were like, so Miss Horne, what designer would you like us to commission a gown for you in? No, hell no. Bring your own. Bring it over on the plane. Done.
Yeah, definitely. And then we went into Muppets News Flash.
Well, before we went to Muppet News Flash, we did have another bit of backstage. I know we've slightly talked about it.
Oh, yeah, of
but
course.
Piggy's, this was again another moment where I was like, oh, Piggy's really coming into her own, where she's got like the heaving bosom and her lying herself across the table backwards.
Had a mind of its own, didn't it?
It did.
It's convulsing. It was like...
I don't think I've ever seen a Muppet move like that. What was like...
It was like the chest burster from Alien was about to pop out. Like, it's just...
That's a different direction.
It's still a puppet.
It's true.
An alarming puppet. But it was just brilliant. And then the way that she just like tossed it off at the end, like, oh, okay. And then just like bounced off. It was great. But yeah, I just wanted to give note to, mainly to Piggy's heaving bosom.
She also threw herself on the table at one point, which I really enjoyed.
Backwards.
Yes.
I just love Piggy in this episode. She's so good.
Who amongst us hasn't thrown themselves backwards onto a table to try and get what they want? I don't know. Like, please give me the part. I'm auditioning for like a $1,000 McDonald's commercial. I have to be like dumb and horny for a new Big Mac or something. Become an actor, kids.
Lewis is actively looking for work if anyone's interested.
I was going to say he's on Twitter, Instagram. He's in the new Justice, whatever it is, League.
Zack Snyder's Justice League, Emma. I played teenage boy, and I only filmed it 4.5 years ago, so it's... Still went to the top of the CV. Teenage boy, Lewis Chandler, 2021. I can disappoint him in person instead. Anyway, Emma, you were saying Muppet News Flash?
Slide seamlessly into Muppets News Flash. Oh, no, it was good to see our little reporter friend again. And I did wonder whether we were going to have another accent showcase, but we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
She didn't really do that much of an accent, did she?
Yeah, she was doing a southern accent.
Was she?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I realised that because Jade, to your credit, you always watch the episode twice. I watch it once. And this was the first time we'd heard Lena talk. So to be fair, I was just like, maybe that's her voice.
No,
And then
no,
when we
no.
got to her later on, I just didn't clock the difference.
The talk spot, she didn't have the southern twang. In the newsflash, she absolutely had a southern twang.
Oh.
So it was accent showcase. Maybe not as much as some of the other ones we've seen, but it totally was still accent showcase work. So yeah.
I was just checking out her lovely neckerchief. There was a gorgeous, like, Hermes scarf going on. Like, you could only see the very top of it. I was like, ooh. I wasn't really paying attention to the sketch itself, to be honest.
Where you're like, go to the wide. I don't want to just see her in this little fake TV screen.
Me in the news gallery, the Muppet News Gallery.
That would not be a safe environment for the newsman if you were in the news gallery, Lewis.
Could you not make it sound like I'm some sort of predator, okay? Like, I'm not like Matt Lauer with like a button I press that locks the door behind me when Muppet Newsreader walks into my office. Like, so I can lay my hands seductively on his flat nose.
Muppet version of the morning show with Lewis Chandler.
Why would it need to be a Muppet version? Reese Witherspoon is already wearing a joke of a wig. Like, all it's missing is some googly eyes anyway. Oh, I went there.
I love the fact that we're recording this like in the evening and it's definitely got a different tone to it.
Yeah, it's totally loopy. We're all
Muppetsational
mental.
after dark. Like,
we're going to have to put a disclaimer on this one, like, we vaguely talk about the Muppets, maybe. Okay, so she did do accent showcase, and the joke about the tide coming in 2 times a day, she goes in and out with the tide on her seaweed diet. I was like, okay. Just
the only bit I liked was then Muppet Newsreader's sort of little button on the end of that, which was like, that's hard to do in Kentucky. And I was like, ah!
Yeah. That was good.
He's a very charming man, Muppet Newsreader.
Oh, see, and you're saying that I can't make you out to be somewhat obsessed with him.
I was leaning into it, all right, for comic effect.
I know. I mean, to be fair, I guess that as a whole sketch was still miles better than this week's ballroom sketch, which
something
I
that
found...
desperately needs to lean in for comic effect, to be honest. Like...
And also, they had another explosion.
Yes.
What is it with the being at the dance that they need an explosion?
I told you, they had all that explosive gelatin that they suddenly realised had a use-by date.
Use-by date.
Yeah, they were like, oh, crap. Like, just put it in every one. They couldn't do it around Lena. They worried it would spook her like a deer. Like, she'd come too sharply back into focus and run off.
I think it's a bit like what you were saying earlier, Emma, about when the episode's not great, there's more little sketches because they just tried to pack it with filler. To me, the explosions are just a bit of a failsafe for the Muppets. Like, if you're not sure what to do, you're not sure how to end a sketch, the puns aren't really working, you know the puns aren't really working, just chuck an explosion at the end and hopefully that'll at least get a laugh, even if nothing else has. So that's the way I kind of see them, especially with the ballroom.
I did laugh at the 2 little background mops who had got themselves...
Yes.
Yeah.
They were just like, look, if we just dance in the background, we could be in 2 numbers. I just love the idea. It's like when you try and shuffle into... like, it's what I would try and do, is try and shuffle into other shots or other scenes just to, like, have more stage time. Bizarre chest joke that felt very un-Muppets. About my aunt has a chest from the 1700s. That must be very hard on your uncle. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I also just don't quite get it. Like, are you saying that she's got, like, a decrepit... Is it really meant to be... Like, is it meant to be that kind of conjuring of an image? That literal? Or is it just like, oh, she's old? Because, I don't know, it's just not a good joke, but...
I'm not sure, but it felt very un-Muppety.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really associate innuendo with the Muppets. Like, that feels a different energy to a pun or to a sight gag. You know, like an actual sort of innuendo. Like, I would never think of the Muppets as, like, seaside postcard humour, where it's still technically, like, family-friendly, loosely. But it's that kind of naughtier, cheekier thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel right for them.
No, I agree. It is weird when you hear a little bit of innuendo. They're just a bit more wholesome, aren't they? Even if they are madcap and energetic and chaotic and whatever, like, it comes from a place of wholesomeness.
It's naivety, yeah. They're toddlers. They're like angry, rambunctious sort of overexcited performative toddlers, then
They're not lewd.
yes, which is another reason I think again why that The Muppets whatever you want to call it, docu-sitcom also didn't work.
It was like a mockumentary, wasn't it?
Mockumentary, that's it. Like,
yeah.
I don't want the Muppets to be dating. Like, either they're chaste or they're married. Like, I don't need Fozzie Bear dating a human woman. Like, who asked for this? The UK spot this week, well, I assume it was the UK spot. Rolf and Zoot just jamming by the piano. I mean, I don't think you could slap filler onto this anymore. Do you know what I mean? It was just like an instrumental.
It was actually the theme from Love Story.
Great.
It was very famous
Cool.
at the time, Lewis. It was very famous at the time.
Yeah, but like that'd be like a show in 1998 pausing to play My Heart Will Go On. Like, it's still filler. It's popular filler, but it's still filler.
I'm haunted by that song as well.
Why are you
Why?
haunted by it?
My Heart Will Go On haunts me because...
Oh, I thought you meant the song from Love Story.
Yeah. I was like, this is a
Emma,
story.
You've never told me you've watched Love Story, let alone have some sort of painful memory associated with it.
No, sorry, I should have been more clear. I'm haunted by My Heart Will Go On because it just reminds me of school discos. And then at the very end, when they would do the song where it's like, and all the couples can come to the floor now, and they used to play My Heart Will Go On, and I literally can't listen to the song because it haunts me.
Because of slow dancing.
Yes.
Like that sort of child distance slow dancing where your hands are like as far as they can stretch from the other person. You just step from
So
side
awkward.
to
What everybody needs during Year 6 discos is Dr. Teeth arms that actually extend. That would like make everyone that much more comfortable, wouldn't it?
I think at that point I was too busy out in like the corridor from the school disco, like spending my £1 or 50p on like those little bags
Yeah, you
of
were.
sugary sweets and just getting entirely off my face.
That my mum
Yeah.
spent ages putting together, so thank you for buying them, Lewis.
Yeah, I remember your mum used to do them, and then when they used to have the little panda pops as well, didn't they?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Panda Pop. No, I remember them just pouring them from like big 2-litre bottles. Not even like...
That was probably the change between when my mum became treasurer. They probably went from like buying individual ones that were more expensive to my mum being like, hell no, we're going to buy a 2-litre bottle and we're going to just give them a cup.
Tracy, that PTA treasurer, just count them coins.
Thrifty as hell.
We love it. We stand a thrifty queen.
We love you, Tracy.
Going directly opposite from a child's school disco, what this sketch reminded me of, and why am I telling this anecdote? I don't know. It reminds me of one time being very drunk after doing a script reading in 2016, and we had done it at the So-and-So Arts Centre, and then we'd gone for a drink at a bar, and then we went on to the Groucho Club and got more drunk, and then I don't even know where it is. We went to this bizarre basement jazz bar in Chinatown.
Oh, Ronnie Scott's?
No, it was not Ronnie Scott.
Okay.
No, because it wasn't on that same street. It was like this rough, like tiled, kind of dank place. And right in the corner was this like 70, 80-year-old man who was dressed in like a black overcoat and like fingerless gloves and a little hat on. And he was smoking indoors. It was 2016. And he had this keyboard that he would just play. And basically, they sort of told you, you can request any song from this man and he will be able to play it. And he could. Like, I was like coming out with the most like trying to think of both like Chet Baker stuff from the 50s, but then like modern stuff as well. And he played it without any sheet music. He could just do it.
Oh my God.
I remember about 20 minutes from that evening, and I've never been able to find that place again.
It didn't exist. It doesn't sound like it did exist ever.
It was dank. Like, it was bizarre. One of my friends ended up so drunk she was falling asleep. Not at the chair, but on the floor under the table in the booth we were in. Like, she was like curled up like a cat. Like, ugh. It was an evening. But this Rolf and Zoot number was just giving me these vibes. I was like, I'm too sober for this UK spot. I need to be like slammed right now.
To get us back slightly more on track, I did, like, it definitely had that sort of...
Feel free to cut that. I don't know if that's relevant.
It's fine, it's funny.
We've gone like so off. We've gone so off piste today. It's unbelievable.
Ooh, off piste, Emma. We never went skiing.
Emma did in that boat neck top.
No, Emma had a tragic skiing trip, and that's why she can no longer listen to the theme from Love Story. But she won't tell us the anecdote, so we'll never know Emma's mysterious trip to the Alps.
We'll coax it out of her eventually.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, to get back to the UK
Kermit's
spot.
chat with Lena Horne.
No, hold on. I just want to say about the UK spot. I really enjoyed the
Oh
interplay.
God, what's more there to say? I don't have any more anecdotes.
No, but I want to talk about the actual sketch. The interplay.
What sketch? They played the stuff and then he cried at the end.
Lewis.
I'm fine.
I really enjoyed the interplay between Rolf and Zoot. Rolf kept really looking at Zoot as he was playing, and he really felt like, again, we talk about this a lot with Rolf, but he just seems so into it. Rolf, the piano player, was loving it. And then at the end, when he got his little hanky out and he'd got all sad, like, I don't know, it certainly wasn't the worst UK sport that we'd have. Like, at least it was totally inoffensive. And I didn't mind listening to them play the theme from Love Song. Like, it was fine. I'd rather that than them, like...
Love Story.
It is 9:10, honestly. That's fine. Let's just say that I said Love Story and move on. So, Lewis, what did you want to say about Lena Horne and the talk spot?
Well, one, I thought it was an absolutely charming chat between Lena, Kermit, and then latterly Fozzie. I was worried when Fozzie came in and we sort of cut to a two-shot of Kermit and Fozzie and we seemingly forgot about Lena. And I was like, please don't waste Lena Horne on this sketch or conversation you could have with Kermit and Fozzie anytime. But then luckily they brought her back in. I thought, I wrote down, Lena's learned from old Hollywood how to placate sensitive men.
I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was really, really good fun. And it was nice to see, again, that interplay between Kermit and Fozzie that we sort of saw coming into its own last week with the sketch. But this week actually felt more like the sort of Kermit and Fozzie relationship, the backstage relationship that we're used to seeing. Where, you know, Fozzie's really leaning on Kermit. He sort of needs Kermit, but then he's also trying to be a star in his own right. And yeah, and I found it really funny, this idea that he didn't know who Lena Horne was and then didn't know who Doris Day was and was just really playing on with it. The one thing that I thought you would pick up on though, Lewis, was the fact that one of the things that Fozzie said is that his family are in show business. So he's another one who apparently comes from a line of stars.
But I don't think any of us could say that Fozzie has been given a leg up by his family in show business.
Well, although, to be fair, does Fozzie deserve a spot on the Muppet Show, given how terrible his performances have been, other than like maybe one or two so far this season? Does he deserve to be on that stage?
All right, Jade, I'll put a pin in it. I'll consider if I put him onto my scooter wall of entitlement and nepotism. We shall see. Let's see how it pans out.
Obviously, it's going to pan out just fine. We all love Fozzie, but I just mean thus far, thus far.
Look, Scooter's got a lot more tally points against him, to be honest. And there's another one for him this episode. We'll get there. Emma, what do you think of Kermit and Lena's chat?
I thought it was really good, actually. Especially compared to some of the ones we've seen recently, I actually thought it was like really good interplay. And then obviously once Fozzie comes in as well and it does like that whole bit, I just thought she kind of just played it really well. And it was just funny, and it was nice to see a bit of interaction. It wasn't just puns or just like a visual gag. It was just nice to see something with a little bit more depth to it, and like actually using the guest star and like her personality, and like obviously she played along with it. And I think it was just nice to see her having a bit of a joke and a laugh and interact with Kermit and Fozzie. So yeah, I really liked it this week. I thought it was really good.
Despite the fact it's obviously scripted, she made it feel incredibly natural.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it really let her shine compared to other chat spots we've had where it feels like the guest is constrained by whatever the joke or setup is meant to be. Or, for example, the Joel Grey episode where we barely got to hear him speak at all, to the detriment of then being able to really get to know Joel. This was a really perfect balance of a good beginning, middle, end of a sketch for a chat spot, but also getting to understand and know and like Lena. It was really great. What a showcase for what the chat spot can actually be when orchestrated well.
And I also think she did a really good job of playing herself. Like, she allowed herself to laugh at Kermit and Fozzie when they obviously were making her giggle. But then she also sort of got back to the point of the sketch afterwards too. And you could see that kind of interplay between, yes, hitting the beats and hitting the right notes of the sketch as it was obviously meant to be, but also just Lena Horne actually just having fun on the Muppet Show, which to me was what was sort of missing from the I Got a Name number, although I granted it was obviously meant to be a more serious number. But I was so pleased when we got to the talk spot, and then really everything after this with the number with Gonzo and with the final Sing number. She seemed to be loving it. She seemed to be having so much fun.
It's what you want as a guest on the Muppet Show and what you want as an audience member.
And I also really liked at the end when she didn't like Kermit's joke and she was like, cute joke. And she just sort of threw it away.
Yeah.
And was that scripted? I feel like that probably wasn't scripted. I feel like that was her just riffing. You think it was?
Oh, I think it was. I think she's just a very good actress.
She just sold it.
She did. We can do that. I'm an actress.
With Lena Horne.
I'm not saying we're on the same level, but we are in the same industry, okay? Let's move on.
And then we see the Swedish chef again. Yay! He's back!
Yay!
I let out a little cheer when he popped up. We haven't seen him in ages.
No, we haven't seen him forever.
Oh, and it was so good. So good. The killer spaghetti. I mean, it was genius. Absolute genius. Because obviously you start off with it on the plate. And it's kind of like moving a little bit. And you're like, okay. And then he has a bit of interaction with it. It kind of moves to the side and he gets it to come back. And then he tails it off, gives it a little bop. And then it just goes crazy. It like attacks him, tries to choke him. He falls backwards. It's just an absolute genius sketch.
It took me a really long time to work out how they were quite puppeteering the spaghetti, which feels stupid. But I was like, is it just a hand buried in there that they're moving and shuffling across? And then I was like, or maybe it's and then I was like, oh, maybe it's string just going that way, or it's on a stick. But then when it like leapt onto the Swedish chef, but then even after it jumped onto him, a little bit on the plate then sort of jumped off its own free will. I was like, how did they do that?
It was very, very clever. And I don't know how you two both felt, but obviously it's the first time we've seen where like the food has attacked him or had that interplay. So I was really surprised when the spaghetti started moving. Like, I genuinely, both times I watched it, I couldn't stop laughing. I thought it was really, really well done. The timing was impeccable. But also it was just the surprise factor of, that's a moving bowl of spaghetti. Like,
we're slowly getting to the point where the sentient food that we've seen on one side of the Muppet Show and the Swedish chef are slowly coming together into the same realm.
Slowly.
So the spaghetti didn't talk, it didn't have eyes, but it had a soul and a drive.
Vengeance. It had attitude.
Vengeance. Vendetta. So eventually I feel like we're going to get the meeting of, some talking French toast and Swedish chef or a sentient banana. Coming. They're slowly coming together and I can't wait. It's going to be like Godzilla versus Kong. Like, who knows? Who will win?
It's definitely going to be fun to see him interacting with some of these sassy pieces of food that we've already met. I was really charmed by the next little bit with Gonzo. I mean, Gonzo's obviously still a bit sad and a bit mopey and is still in his artist in residence phase. Yeah. But I was quite glad we didn't get to see him do Pop Goes the Weasel with a surprise ending. I was a bit worried. I assumed it was going to be an explosion of some description. I was like, we've had enough. Thank you. But like, I really enjoyed Animal coming on and biting the balloon. It felt totally in character for Animal to just be like, yes, balloon, go bang.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm going to do that. And then have that lead into Gonzo having a lovely song with I'm Glad There Is You with Lena Horne in her dressing room was just delightful. It was really lovely.
We essentially get a B plot.
Yeah.
So we're not relying on one runner to sort of thread all of this backstage business. And it's brilliant, and it's kind of mad that it's taken them so long to start thinking, oh, we could have more than one story going on backstage, and to use our guest as the conduit for these two plots to either be the springboard for Miss Piggy is wondering why she isn't getting a number because Lena is, and then this one, Lena gives advice to Gonzo, who we've just seen bomb on stage. It's perfect, and it now makes me understand after you said a week or two ago, Jade, when apparently we're not going to get the chat segment anymore with the guest. And I was like, oh, well, that seems a shame. But now, if we're going to be using the guests this way, where we've got them backstage chatting to Muppets and not just a formal on-stage thing where they have to be stuck by a joke or a setup, which we've found quite limiting, then I'm all for it. Like, bring it on, because this was lovely.
Also, I think you can really lean into the star's persona, or if they've got a particular thing that they want to do, you can really lean into this in a much more natural way than if you're on a bench with Kermit. You know, because you're very limited, aren't you, in terms of what you can do in that formal talk show kind of setting. Whereas this, you know, you could be anywhere in the theatre. You could obviously do it with any of the Muppets. You could sing any song. There's almost infinite possibilities in terms of what direction you could take this in.
Emma, did you notice that Lena has the specific old Hollywood open-mouthed smile? Like,
I did. I honestly thought a lot of her like on-screen behaviour was like watching Starlet School.
Yeah.
Look to the middle distance. Do the like glassy-eyed, no blinking look. Do the like
lean
little side kind of framing the face, everything. But no, I agree. I thought it was a really lovely number, actually. It was like really beautiful to see Gonzo and Lena together doing their duet. And they had their little matching outfits.
She had another gorgeous blouse kimono thing on. It was lovely, like Chinese pajamas almost, like the way it was cut.
It was obviously, she'd obviously chosen it to go with Gonzo's colours as well. Like they looked so lovely together on screen. No, but do you know what I mean? Like there's been other guests that the Muppets are quite distinctive colours, aren't they? And if you don't pick your outfit well, you can absolutely clash with the colours that are going on. But this was just delightful. It was delightful to look at. It was delightful to listen to. It was delightful to watch. And she was also really like nuzzling Gonzo's hair and his head, and then they were really cuddling in together, and it was very, very cute. Lewis, why are you giggling?
Well, because I wrote down in my notes when they started cuddling and nuzzling, and then also just Gonzo's singing voice, I did write down, this has slight Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett jazz album vibes, with Lena being Lady Gaga and Gonzo being Tony Bennett, which is ironic, because I then found out in my research that Lena Horne and Tony Bennett toured together in the 70s, like doing a nightclub act.
Oh, it's like the circle of life.
Isn't it just? But yeah, that kind of, I just thought it was funny. But no, just what a great little piece to have in this already good episode.
A really lovely message that she said to Gonzo before she started singing about, you know, if even one person appreciates your art, to keep going. Like, it was again, finishing with like the Sesame Street number, there was a wholesomeness to this episode, which feels Muppety, but also does feel quite Sesame Streety in terms of like, yay, people.
It's a wholesomeness related to letting your freak flag fly, but also letting your creative soul sing.
Yeah. I'm going to congratulate you on saying letting your freak flag fly as well, because
thank you.
That was hard.
Yeah, I'm not going to attempt that.
No, you stay away, Emma, stay away.
I paid damn good money for this elocution. It's hard to beat out those Southampton vowels. Tell you who should be beaten, and was quite rightly beaten in the following scene, Scooter by Miss Piggy. Another reason why he shouldn't be in show business. No tact, no understanding, foolish.
I do feel for him though, because he was obviously just following Kermit's lead of saying ruthless, merciless and cruel, and you can roll your eyes all you like, but I think Kermit, you could argue that Kermit set him up as the fall guy so that Piggy had to go at him first. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's quite a typical Scooter response, isn't it? Although it maybe feels it does feel sort of extra naive compared to maybe what we would expect of Scooter now. But he does kind of just like say what he sees and repeat stuff. And
he's an idiot.
well, yeah, I was going to say simple.
No, he's an idiot.
Oh, I just need an episode for you to come back on the scooter train, Lewis. I'm sad.
Surely you should have just called it the scooter. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Fine, the scooter. We can check in every week now and be like, Lewis, are you back on the scooter yet?
The wheels are off the scooter.
It was fun to see Piggy just attack, though, wasn't it? It was nice. To see.
I don't remember Piggy being so keen on stomping people when they're already down. But I love it. I think it's fantastic. I'm waiting for her to spit on somebody afterwards. Like, it's truly like...
We definitely heard a lot of hiya in this episode.
Yeah. Maybe the stomping was a 70s special. Like, just in terms of what was culturally appropriate at the time.
Look, if Piggy, if that butcher shop that she escaped from was based in New York in the 70s, I mean, God knows what sights she must have seen in that cesspit of a town before she escaped.
And then we move on to Fozzie's monologue, which, I don't know, I kind of feel a little bit like we went backwards in terms of it was like going back to the really bad puns, and it was a bit of a shame really, because he was so good in the last episode, and it was finally like an actual kind of bit of character development for him, and for some reason we've kind of just taken a step back and gone back into the puns and the one-liners and that moments. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about it this week.
I thought it was awful. I thought it was absolutely terrible. I was so disappointed. Statler and Waldorf had the upper hand the whole time, resulting in Fozzie's final line of Senior Citizens 1, Bear 0. And I was like, yes, Fozzie, you've completely lost this one. I thought it was so bad. And then I also noticed on my second watch that they obviously didn't think it was great either, because they weren't even 100% sure where to put the laugh track on it. After he made that first joke about the Japanese actor name, which I'm not going to try and recreate here, there's like this very gentle hubbub of noise. One, as if they know it's not really that funny, no one would have laughed that hard. But two, it's in a weird place timing-wise. Like, they weren't entirely sure where the punchline fell, because there was no punchline, because it just wasn't funny. Yeah, I thought it was awful. The weird Japanese actor, no smoking jokes, the Marceau balancing on one leg and then balancing on no legs. The only good thing I can say about that was Frank Oz did a very good job of bringing Fozzie down when he fell over when he was on no legs. That was it. That was the only bit of the act that I enjoyed, was Fozzie falling over.
Yeah.
It was well puppeted. But other than that, I was so disappointed. I didn't get my hopes up too high after last week, because I did think maybe it was still a little bit early and they were still figuring some bits out. But I thought it was going to be better than this.
I wasn't really focusing on Fozzie, if I'm honest. I was really just paying attention to Statler and Waldorf, because they were far more entertaining. I did write down the line, "He's either brilliant or that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." I just thought was a really nice line. You're right. Compared to what we saw from Fozzie in the Harvey Korman episode, it was a shame to see it go back to this well, which we know draws no comedic water. But
this well is dry, has been for a while, has been declared a drought zone by the UN, and needs to be left well alone. It's horrendous. Oh, yeah. It also just seems such a shame after Fozzie had a really good bit in the talk spot. They're still doing that character development work, but then with this episode we have it alongside all these terrible puns. Like,
it feels like at this point they're still stuck in the concept. They're stuck in, this is the bit where Fozzie goes out and he gets ridiculed by the audience. And they haven't really caught on to the fact that that isn't a winner. So maybe they had one moment with Harvey, but as we sort of know from your sort of anecdote that you found, they found that very last minute. So obviously if they, maybe they have to find it again. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it just being like a lightning in a bottle one moment.
Yeah, and also I think it's just about learning from it. Exactly, like it's looking back at that lightning in a bottle and saying, okay, why did that work? Why was that actually really successful? And why isn't this successful? Because I just refuse to believe that a 1970s audience was falling over themselves at this material. They weren't. They can't possibly have been. I mean, maybe they were laughing slightly more than we are, but they weren't falling over themselves. They had faulty towers in the 70s, for God's sake. Like, you know, Python existed. They knew what funny was. It's fine. They know funny.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Precisely.
We get a couple of little moments backstage. One, Lena trying to get the key to her dressing room.
I thought this was really funny for one of the little, like, the tiny little skits that we get. This was actually a pretty decent one with Animal and the Mallet, I thought.
I'd love to know if we actually tried to tune, held up a tuning device, whether she did actually hit a B flat. I wonder if that might be something beyond the 1970s to get that kind of accuracy. But yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. And the what it leads into with then the backstage, the final bit of our backstage runner plot with Piggy just sort of, I just wrote down again, it's properly Piggy. Just every time she came on, I was like, oh, I know it's the Piggy I know and love. Like, yay.
I loved her saying to Kermit, "You're the monster," and then calling him El Greeno, which I just thought was hysterical.
Yeah, that was really funny. That was really
She's
funny.
in her element. You're right, Lewis. She's found herself now, hasn't she? She's there.
But then, why in God's name would Piggy then agree to be a chorus member in the back of Lena's song?
That's what I wondered too, to be honest. Yeah.
I was waiting for her to edge forward and I don't know, chuck Lena into the piano or push the piano to crush Lena or something. I was like, why would she be there? But, you know, that's the only bit of continuity that cropped up for me.
I wonder if in future seasons we'll see more of like the backstage stuff having a real impact on the actual songs and sketches and things. Like to that extent where Piggy either wouldn't turn up or Piggy would turn up, but she'd be really annoyed or she'd be like trying to go off stage or push her way to the front or whatever. Whereas obviously I think still at this point it was probably like they just recorded it and then they tried to figure out where in the episode it was going to sit.
What was the name of the song that Lena sang?
It's just called Sing.
This unlocked like some kind of dormant memory in my head because I knew the tune of this song despite the fact that I haven't heard it anywhere in years, and I can only assume I heard it from watching Sesame Street as a kid, because when they got to the La La Las, I was like, I know the tune of these La La Las.
You know, there's a children's TV show that I really enjoy. Maybe you've heard of Sesame Street. Anyway, here's one of my favorite songs from that show. Sing, sing a song. Sing out loud, sing out strong.
Sing of good things, not bad. Sing of happy, not sad.
Sing, sing a song. Make it simple to last your whole life long.
Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear.
Sing, sing a song. La 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 la.
Emma, did you ever watch Sesame Street? I never remember you being downstairs at the same time as me in the mornings.
No, I wasn't there when you were taught to turn the TV on early in the morning. I was still asleep at that point.
I would be an excitable early riser as a child, not anymore.
That was the same as me, Lewis, to be honest. I was the same.
So Mum and Dad just taught me to go downstairs and turn the TV on and watch it quietly.
Yeah.
I mean, great parenting. I would do exactly the same.
You wouldn't even have to go downstairs now. You'd just be like, turn the tablet on and shush.
Put your Bluetooth headphones in. Don't choke on it.
The other thing that you might know this song from, Lewis, is the Carpenters actually covered it as well. And
it's more
I
of a
saw
mamas
that
and
Barbra
papas man myself.
Okay. And I also saw that Barbra Streisand included it in a medley with...
Now you're speaking more my language.
Yeah.
There we get into the more campus side of things.
with Make Your Own Kind of Music.
Which is a Mamas and Papas song.
There you go then.
There we go. So she was doing a little Carpenter's Mamas and Papas thing. How weird that I should mention Mamas and Papas. Emma, what did you think of this number?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was very sweet, and I loved her like kind of princess 70s vibe she was going for. Like she had a little dress kind of with the big sleeves. And yeah, I thought it was really sweet, especially when she kind of had her like little trio of singers with her and Fozzie and Kermit. And I thought it was just a nice kind of jolly song to end the episode with, because I know we've had quite a few episodes actually with a bit of a sort of sad, melancholy song ending, and it was actually quite nice to kind of finish on a high, on like a jolly, quite sweet, happy song. So no, I really enjoyed it this week. It was really, really good.
All of Lena's songs were actually quite sincere, but weirdly, unlike other weeks where we've had guests sing a sincere song where there's not really any jokes in the actual singing of the song, like the Muppets are just there as either people listening or duetting, I didn't feel like I'd been shortchanged. I didn't actually miss a Muppety twist.
Because I think that because, you had Gonzo singing with her, and then in this you had Kermit and Fozzie, so there was still enough interaction rather than the Muppets just being
you're right.
passive. Also in this you had Rolf playing the piano, which again I really enjoyed. He kept sort of looking up at her and checking in on her, and he seemed to be really enjoying the song yet again. What song doesn't Rolf like? That would be a great question. If I ever met Rolf, I would definitely ask him that. Anyway. Okay.
The musical Cats.
It's not a...
Cat Stevens.
It's not a Jellicle fan. Let's not talk about cats. I don't want to talk about cats. Yeah.
It's too late to talk about cats.
Way too late. I completely agree. It was lovely to finish it on this really joyous note, and she seemed to be really enjoying it. And I also just... Again, I feel like we've found something that works, which is Muppets singing songs with the guest, and it not having to necessarily have a crazy comedic twist. It can just be as sweet as, our favourite Muppets singing along.
It makes me question again, why did not Will Comment or Razzle Dazzle work in the Joel Grey episode? Because, I mean, essentially that's the same thing. The Muppets were just singing with him. Those both fell completely flat. Whereas I loved this. It's such a strange alchemy that makes a number in the Muppet Show work. And I don't know if we've quite got a complete formula yet, but I really, really liked this episode.
I feel like there's something with Wilkeman they were still sat at tables and he was still sort of performing. Like he was the...
But then again, in all three of Lena's numbers, she's either standing and the other ones are sitting. Or sitting with, Gonzo or another Muppet. Like, there was a lot less movement in these numbers compared to Joel moving about and all the frickin' wipes and, like, explosions and lights that happened in that hot mess.
I mean, I wonder if it's to do with the presence, like her presence on screen. Because to be completely honest, like, Joel Grey, I didn't get anything off him. Like, do you know what I mean? She just had... star quality.
She had a warmth as well, though, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a warmth.
Yeah.
And even though, like you said, there wasn't really any gimmicks, she was, pretty much sat down for all her songs. I think because she had a warmth and she had a genuine star quality, and you could feel her really, like, getting involved and, like, in the song, and it sort of raised the bar on the quality of the performances. And I think if you had someone else sing those songs, but they were very, like, one-dimensional and not particularly interactive or very, like, expressive or had a genuine vibe warmness coming out of them, I don't know if necessarily it might have worked for a different performer.
I think you're right.
I definitely do feel like she just has something. She has, like, a little light that's kind of shining out, and she doesn't have to overdo it or, like, overplay it or rely on... I know... We said that she sang one of the songs that she was well known for, but she wasn't relying on a character she was playing or a part she was playing. She was just kind of coming across as really genuine.
It's the power of looking into the middle distance.
No, but then she didn't do that for these other ones, did she? And they were the ones for me that really worked. No, but I think it's there obviously is something in that about it's not just the setup and what the Muppets are doing. It is very much about the guest and what they bring to the episode. Compare this to last week with Harvey, who didn't even do a song. You know, it was just all skits and sketches. It makes for such a different episode, doesn't it? I mean, it's not quite an entirely different show, but it almost is. This feels chalk and cheese, this episode, to the last couple that we've had, I think.
Yeah.
She really brought it, and I'm really, really pleased to see that actually, after a few weeks of some bumpy episodes and bumpy numbers, they've kind of found it again. And also it does just feel like it's all coming together a lot better, you know, with the backstage, and then, like you said, Lewis, with the B plots, and then also actually just with making the most of your guest star and really bringing that to the fore. It's exciting.
I'm going to bring the general chat of the episode to a close with just one note. In the goodbyes, Lena pushing to make sure Miss Piggy gets a number next week. Women supporting women. And I bet Lena had to learn that in Hollywood as well, because nobody else was going to look out for you. So kudos to Lena.
It was really sweet that she did that, I thought. Really, really sweet. It was a nice little touch. And also, I really hope next week Miss Piggy does get her number.
Yeah, and also, did you notice that Hilda said the goodbye as well? She rolled
Yes.
up on stage and was like, goodbye. I think that's the first time Kermit hasn't done that.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought it was really cute. And I also was just like, I was like, good for you, Hilda. Like, you obviously went and switched that iron off, and now you're out for the goodbyes. It's all coming up, Hilda. Like, having a great day.
I wonder, it's all coming up, Hilda. I wonder when Hilda's going to disappear. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously we just don't know her as a Muppet now. Will it be season 2? Will she be there for 4 or 5 seasons and then never seen of again? Who knows? The Hilda mystery coming to Netflix. True crime. Right. Anyway, enough nonsense. I think it's time for us to get to our most valued Muppet performer of the week. I wonder who it's going to be. Let's keep it brief, everybody, because it's probably all the same answer. Emma, you can go first.
Well, mine is going to be Gonzo.
Oh,
okay, all right.
Yay. Just because I just loved his little duet with Lena. I just thought it was so good and so sweet. And like, she believed in him and gave him a little boost of confidence. And it was super cute. And I just feel like he is starting to develop a little bit more, which is really nice to see. So yeah, I think my MVMP for this week is going to be Gonzo. How about you, Jade?
Well, Lewis, I don't think we are going to be 3 for 3 on who you think, because I'm going with the spaghetti!
Yeah!
Because it was genuinely the thing that made me laugh the most in the whole episode. And I just thought it was really, really clever for all the reasons we've already said. I thought it was really, really clever puppetry. But also I just loved the interplay with Swedish Chef. And it's really, you know, it was delightful to see Swedish Chef back. But it was also delightful to see that actually the food is turning on Swedish Chef. And that he's not just shooting things anymore. They are actually attacking him. I loved the spaghetti. I thought it was great. Lewis, wonder who your MVMP is going to be?
I feel so validated for having waited to give my MVMP to Miss Piggy!
Yay!
This is the pig I've been waiting for! Sassy, dramatic, sexy, demure, stomping faces and karate chopping. Love it. She's here. She's ready to win and steal this show out from everybody else. Fantastic. What a joy. Vindication. Let's get on to our rankings for the week. I'm going to reverse the order. Jade, what would you give this episode out of 10?
I'm going to give this episode 7 B-flat screams out of 10. That's with an asterisk because that's not verified that that's definitely a B flat. But hey ho, we're gonna go with it. Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I think to me it's on that par with that's what I gave the Rita Moreno episode all those many moons ago, and to me it's on a par with Rita's episode. I think Lena completely brought it. She was great. There were a few moments in it that I didn't totally love, and I think, you know, we've seen episodes that have been on the whole better, you know, as a complete episode, but actually it's all really, as I just said a minute ago, it's all really coming together and it's all really getting there. I did thoroughly enjoy it, and I'm just relieved that we seem to be sort of back on track after a little bit of a wobble recently. I think the Piggy Runner, I loved starting with the mops. It was great to see Swedish Chef back. And yeah, just finishing on a high note was lovely. As much as I loved Robin last week, like it was lovely to finish on a note of joy and happiness. So yeah, 7 B-flat screams out of 10. Lewis, how about you? What are you rating? Yeah, I'm mixing it up now too.
What is happening? I'm going to go also for 7. I'm going to do 7 Lena Horne costume changes. I think it was just a really narratively strong episode and excellently structured. Not every sketch worked. I mean, yeah, you've pretty much covered what did and didn't work, to be honest. But I just really appreciated utilizing the guest to move both an A plot and a B plot along, how that drove everything forward. We weren't just getting stuck on crap puns. It was comedic interplay or character development, which then sometimes fed onto the stage and then sometimes it didn't. It was not perfect. And yeah, I've ranked it lower than my Rita episode, which I think I put an 8. And I think I also put...
Connie?
Connie. So I'm putting it just below that. But it's in terms of just like watchable television, leagues higher than some of the other episodes we've watched, which have felt like such a slog. So yeah, 7 Lena Horne costume changes out of 10. Emma, what would you give the episode?
Well, I think it's going to be a clean sweep for the 7s because I'm going to give it 7 plates of spaghetti out of 10. Yay! I think you both pretty much covered what I was going to say. I think it was a good episode to watch. Like you said, it hasn't been like some of the ones we've watched previously, which have been a bit of a drag and been a kind of mishmash of like skits and sketches to fill time. And I felt like Lena was a really strong guest host. I felt like all the bits she was in were really, really good. And I also really loved the character development of Gonzo. And also I just thought it was really lovely. Like there were fewer kind of bits chucked in and it was nice to see Swedish Chef again. So yeah, I'm going to rate it a 7 for this week.
7s across the board. Jade, why don't you close us out with a little Muppet philosophy this week?
I shall. So this is taken from Jim Henson, the biography by Brian J. Jones. I'm going to read you a little snippet of text and then a tiny little quote from Henson, which I think speaks nicely to this episode and what we've all been saying about how things feel like they're coming together and everything seems to be working. So Jim believed that puppetry, especially the Muppet brand of puppetry, required the same kind of serious time and training that great actors devoted to their craft. He said, Muppet operators must be good actors, good technicians, preferably good singers, and occasionally good dancers. It's like being a television star by proxy.
Oh.
And I think we see that. We're starting to see that, aren't we? I think.
Absolutely. And it took a star like Lena Horne to bring it out of them. Thank you, Lena Horne.
Definitely. I'm so glad that she did the show. A cracking episode of television. And I'm sorry you didn't EGOT with it, Lena, but it was still great in my book.
You deserved it. Thank you so much for listening to Muppetsational. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate and review, as it really helps spread the word about the podcast. You can follow us on social media. We are at Muppetsational on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. You can contact us at hiho@muppetspodcast.com, and you can find out more about us and the podcast at muppetspodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us on this rip-roaring After Dark episode when it really ran the gamut of Muppetsational. I've been Lewis Chandler.
I've been Jade Turner. If you've made it this far, well done.
And I've been Emma Chandler.
Oh, I don't envy whoever has to edit this one. Oh wait, it's me! We shall see you next week on another episode of Muppetsational!
Woo!
Woo!
Our theme music is Peppy Pepe by Kevin MacLeod, and our artwork is designed by Charlotte Rudge, who you can follow at Charlie_R_Rudge on Instagram. Did I write down the name of the other song? I don't know if I wrote down the name of the other song that she did the medley with.
People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. Just chug that on at the end as a treat for people who listen after the credits.
What a treat.